Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our free live session for the English language section. Sorry about the delay. Faisal, thank you for being the communicator. Who's here? Who's here this evening? Let's see. Praveen, Shilpi, Dushyant, Vidya, Srivastava, Girish, Venkat, Nilesh is here, Harshad is here, Vidya is there, Janani Priya is there. Hi Janani, I think you had posted something on the discussion forum and I responded to it. I don't know if you've checked it out. Welcome. You said you were new. Anil is here, Kiran is here, Gaurav is here, Harshad is here, Vijay, Anubra, Elsie, Anand, and okay, the names are repeating now. So great to have you guys. Revati is here, Sugeta is here, Manasa is here, GV, it's been a while, Banashri is here, Nilesh is here, Shainika, Mahesh, Sajid, Kedar Biradar, are you new? Maddie, oh, I don't know if I'm singing that wrong. I mean, if I'm singing that right. It's an old movie, right? I don't know what's it in Hindi. It was Alaypaide in Tamil. Kalpana, Sneha, Chinnu, and Sindhu. Welcome, all of you. Okay, so again, if you're new, please let us know. Please let me know now, so I can acknowledge your presence and welcome you, all of us together. You know that you've joined the Talent Sprint family. How are you, ma'am? Gaurav? I'm fine. I'm tired. I brought my son to work today. I didn't get anybody to babysit him, and my husband's out of station, so that's why the delay. So please, excusez-moi. RHTDM means what? Please, I don't understand these chat abbreviations. Please educate me, Nilesh. I'd like to be, in line with how you guys think and process things. So, let's get started. Already a lot of time has gone. Vijay, you sing very well. Why did you select teaching profession? Well, you never know. My dream is still alive. As in, I will pursue my dreams. I'm more interested in singing and dancing. So yes, I will do that. It's never too late to pursue your dreams, right? So I will focus on that. But this is something that gives me moolah on a regular basis. So yes. You're new to the session, Aparna. Welcome. So good to have you. And Divya, welcome again. Not welcome again, welcome. 132. What does 132 stand for? Yes, Rehna hai tera dil mein. Correct. That's the one. What do you want me to say about the upcoming IDBI English exam? Manasa, are you looking for something specific? I don't know. You need to tell me. What do you want to know? Let me put it that way. Yeah? I'm sure all of you have completed your application process quite some time back. Yeah? 28th April, right? End of this month is when the exam is. Yeah, I know. So I'm sure your preparation is on full swing. Whatever we're doing with respect to these these sessions will definitely help you in that preparation as well. Shilpi's like, ma'am, please start. AM English section was good this time, which means, are you telling me that you scored a lot of marks? Okay, everybody's getting a little impatient. So what we'll do is, those of you who have any specific questions pertaining to IDBI Bank, maybe you can put it up on the discussion forum and I'll discuss it there. Yeah? So let's get started. Let me share the PPT. So for those of you who've come after a long time, you know generally what we do, right? We take up questions from any tests. It could be AIMs, it could be practice tests, it could be daily tests, and we discuss those challenging questions. The idea or the objective is for us to continue to learn different approaches, different strategies to approach specific question types, whether it's close passage or jumble sentence or spot the error, right? We're always learning something new in terms of a concept, even if it's spot the error. Because there are so many questions, there are so many error types when it comes to spot the error. It's always good for us to attempt or practice as many as we can. Yeah? I am not too sure, Praveen. I have no idea about that. I will take it up with Rohit and find out what the reason is. And we can get back to you on that. Yeah? So let me share the PPT. Okay, so the first question that we have in front of us is jumble sentence. So it says rearrange the 5 sentences denoted A, B, C, D, E in the proper sequence to make a meaningful paragraph and then answer the questions given below them. Okay, so we know the drill, right? You can actually hear that, Ahuja. Yes, he is calling out. But Ayushi, just to answer your questions, we had specific sessions catering only to SSC CGL for a very long time. In fact, if you go on YouTube, there are videos still uploaded exclusively focusing on SSC CGL, which I think you haven't been a part of, so I'd recommend you go through those videos, right? For a very long time, we kept only focusing on SSC CGL for your information. So I'd advise you to go through those videos and that will probably put you at rest. Okay? You got this wrong in the AIM exam, so let's check it out, Sageta. Yes, this was from AIM. So as usual, let's try and figure out what the subject is, look for repeat words, phrases. Let's identify the topic sentence first. Pratyusha also got this wrong. So let's see what clues, there are always logical links and connects, right, to get the sequence right. So let's understand, quickly look at some repeat words and phrases. So if you look at it, so we have pricing, right, and related to that, we also have cost. So these are all repeat words and phrases, and we obviously know that D says this is not a healthy business model, which means that's a nice clue. There's a good clue word for us in sentence D. Can you identify what that clue word is in sentence D? It says this is not a healthy business model, which means one of these sentences is referring or talking about or giving us an example of that business model, right? So this is our clue word here, right? So you can even form links, but let's understand and identify what the topic sentence is. So Chinnu says the topic sentence is C. Why? Because based on the repeat words and phrases, we know that the context is surrounding or revolving around pharma pricing, right? It says pharma pricing not only needs to be aligned with the notions of ease of doing business and make in India, but also reckon with the pricing policies and the interests of the senior citizens. Yeah, so we understand because everything else is somewhere or the other related to privacy, right? So let's quickly look at this as a sequence. So most of you agree that C is the topic sentence because it sets the context, right? It tells me this is what the subject is, boss. We are going to discuss about pricing in this context. So C yes is our topic sentence. I know a couple of you have given me the sequence, but let's look at it. Okay, so pharma pricing, that's our subject, and we've understood that. Now, we also need to look, so if I look at B and A, for example, right? A says the arbitrary pricing of medical products is very exploitative and too serious to be ignored. Now, we need to keep in mind, we're always looking for clue words and phrases, right? From the topic sentence, if I look at pharma pricing, it says, hey, it has to be aligned with the notion, means idea, of ease of doing business and make in India, but also reckon with the pricing policies and the interests of the senior citizens, right? We need to keep this in mind. Now, if I look at, we'll have to look for links now. What can I quickly, so I may be confused, I don't know, after the topic sentence, I don't know which sentence should be the following sequence, right? So I'm going to form links, like I said, I'm going to focus on the demonstrative pronoun here, this, and figure out where in the context is any sort of business model being discussed at all, right? And if I look, A, no. B, it says an ambitious pricing policy adopted for drugs paved way for huge profits by charging consumers heavily. Okay, so for me, it looks like, right? It looks like that is where the business model is actually discussed. Do you agree or you don't agree? Or let's look at E. E says, if a healthcare corporate or hospital is doing very well and adds considerable value to the existing wealth of shareholders, it is definitely at the cost of consumers, the large patient populace. So I'm looking at a couple of keywords for me from the context. Okay. So the first one is, if I take in mind pricing policies in interest of senior citizens, the next thing that addresses that is, I'm sorry, I'm deviating. Let's find the link for D. So for me, B is the only sentence that is addressing some sort of a policy that was put into place, or some sort of a business model that was put into place, which is this: an ambitious pricing policy adopted for drugs paved way for huge profits by charging consumers heavily. So this is the only example out of A, B, and E, which is talking about some sort of a business model that was put in place. Right? So there you go. So for me, DB is a link. Okay? So I'm saying, I'm going to keep this aside. So I'm saying DB is a link for me. Right? Not this way, it's actually BD, because D has to follow B, right? The business model I discussed earlier. So let me just change that quickly. So it will be BD is a link, right? B addresses the business model where it's saying, hey, huge profits were charged, they were trying to get huge profits by charging consumers heavily. And then it says this is not a healthy business model for a developing country. So let's keep that aside. Now we are only left with A and E. Where do we fit that? So let's look for clue words and keywords, right? If you look at E, it says, remember I said cost of consumers? It is definitely at the cost of consumers. So what is definitely at the cost of consumers? And I need to look for a sentence which is probably addressing that earlier, right? And the only sentence that is talking about it is A. The arbitrary pricing of medical products is very exploitative and too serious to be ignored. So anything that is happening at the cost of consumers, right? The pricing is way too much for them to handle. So which means for me, again, A and E are a link. A and E are a link. Why? Because the only thing that is addressing that there is something happening at the cost of consumers is A. exploitative. Pricing products exploitative, too serious to be ignored. So for me, if I have to put everything together, let's see if somebody has given me the sequence. I saw a lot of sequence. So Praveen says CEABD. Okay. And anybody else? Chinu, just refresh. Okay, I didn't check the comments. A lot of you are saying that you're not getting the video. Are you able to see the video now? Okay, Vidya, you got this right. Everybody else kind of got E and A mixed up a little bit. Yeah. So now let's unravel the whole thing and see if it makes sense. Okay. I'm saying AE is a link, BD is a link, and then we have our topic sentence C, right? So let's quickly go through this. Slowly, I want you to just pay attention. Let's go. Girish also kind of seemed to have got this. So we're saying pharma pricing not only needs to be aligned with the notion, with the idea of ease of doing business and make in India, but also reckon with the pricing policies and the interests of the senior citizens. Why is that so? Right? Why do we need to make sure that this has to be kept in mind? So what does the pricing policy look like? Right? Remember, you need to ask questions. What does the pricing policy look like? And how do we kind of ensure that this is interconnected or related to the interests of the senior citizens? A brings in that point, right? The arbitrary pricing of medical products is very exploitative. So that's something that addresses the pricing policy and too serious to be ignored. And how is it exploitative? E explains it. Right? If a healthcare corporate or hospital is doing very well and adds considerable value to the existing wealth of shareholders, it is definitely at the cost of consumers, which means the consumers are the ones who are getting hit. Why? Because they are being charged unbelievably for the products. Right? That's why it says exploitative. The large patient populace. Right? So CAE, and then we've left with, again, cost of consumers, meaning B kind of reiterates the fact and it gives us an example of a business model. How is it at the cost of consumers? Why do you say it's at the cost of consumers? Because they tried this out. This is the business model that they actually went ahead and did. So they said, they're giving us an example. An ambitious pricing policy adopted for drugs paved way for huge profits. See, this huge profits is in line with the first half of E. It says, if a healthcare corporate or hospital is doing very well and adds considerable value to the existing wealth of shareholders, which is nothing but they are making huge profits, boss. They are doing really well. How is that possible? By charging consumers heavily at the cost of consumers. See that? Do you see that connection? They are charging consumers heavily at the cost of consumers. These are your repeat phrases. You'll have to just put two and two together, right? It means the same. How is this happening? So we definitely know that E has a link to B. So if somebody is coming and asking, how are you saying that B should come after E? This is why. There is that link for you clearly. Right? So you can't get confused and say CEA. E has a link to B. Because I just found a phrase that is in line with what the context is saying. Who's making huge profits? If a healthcare corporate, it's right here, if a healthcare corporate or hospital is doing very well, that is the huge profits. How are they doing it? Charging consumers heavily at the cost of consumers, right? There's a direct connection between E and B. Now, so there you go, right? So the right sequence is C, A, E, B, D. There is no doubt here. There is a link between A and E, there is a link between E and B, there is a link between B and D. Very logical links, that too. Like you can't even miss it. But you need to pay attention to these clue words and clue phrases. You need to be able to identify and just look at how you can connect them. Yeah? It comes, see, the thing is, I'll tell you, this is not an easy one. This is quite a tricky one because it seems like it's all over the place, but it's actually not, right? Hey guys, don't get all very, what do I say? anxious about, I don't want you guys to get into a fight over the chat. Just focus on the question. Let's look at how we can address these type of, slightly tricky, slightly complicated, slightly higher order difficulty level jumble sentences, because there's not much, what do I say, pronouns or sequence link words that is helping us out, which means we need to ask questions. We need to identify keywords and ask questions, right? We need to do that. We need to get into the habit of doing that. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult for us to. And a question like this, I'm sure after the topic sentence, most of you will get the sequence wrong, or you might skip it, right? Because it's just all over the place for you. But if you look at it, it has very, very clear logical links. I agree with you, Nagini, right? We will not be able to have the kind of time that we are having in the exam to complete a question like this. Why? Because we haven't practiced much using the strategy of questioning, using the strategy or applying the strategy of I for detail. How can I connect these words and phrases? Right? Don't you think? I mean, it can't get any clearer that E and B, there is a link. Yeah? So don't worry about it. Yes, it is complicated, and yes, it will come only with practice, and yes, you will not have time to do a jumble sentence like this in the exam unless you allot at least a minimum of 5 minutes for jumble sentence, which I don't think most of us will have during the time of the exam, right? We always run out of time. That's our problem. That is our concern. So that's okay. But go back, take a look at the explanation. You'll understand the logical sequence, right? So once you get the sequence right, obviously, I always keep saying this, you need to, let me make sure I got the sequence right and I'm not giving you anything incorrect. So CAEBD, right? So when I always say this, keep numbering it, so you get all your full 5 points. Which of the following be the first? C. Second, A. Third, E. Fourth, B. And fifth is D. There you go. You got all your 5 as long as you got the sequence. Yeah, don't worry about it, Vijay. It's okay. It's okay, right? So see, depending on our strengths, right? Some of us have like really good, we come from a background where, English is not that difficult or complex. Some of us come from a background where we have to start afresh. English is completely new. We haven't had education in an English medium, school or university. So that's where the difference is. So we need to be patient and not look at, what do I say? Not feel dejected or disappointed because someone else is able to get the sequence fast. That's not how you should look at it, right? You need to look at it like, okay, this is my opportunity area. These are the strategies that I will follow. This is the amount of time that I will allot for a question type like this because it's very challenging for me. And what are the strategies or the techniques that I can continue to practice on a daily basis so I improve. That's how you need to look at it. Yeah? So let's move on. Our next question type is, of course, spot the error. Hi, Kaniti. Some of the people joined, I think, late. Welcome, whoever it is. I missed you on the chat. Yeah. So let's look at it. So let's read the question in front of us. Amazon will like to use its Prime membership to send personalized recommendations and digital coupons to consumers. So we know that the subject is about Amazon, right? And as soon as we read it, we know something sounds off, right? Something sounds off with respect to part A, obviously. Because I know that Amazon and the primary verb, right? The primary verb is use. Action word. Amazon will use its Prime membership to do what? To send personalized recommendations and digital coupons to who? To consumers. So obviously, this other verb, right, doesn't make sense there. not will like to use. We can, I mean, you can also look at it like that, right? But keeping in mind what Amazon is trying to achieve for its consumers, there is a high chance, or there's a high probability, the tendency for Amazon to do this, to use its membership to send personalized recommendations and digital coupons to consumers, is high, on the higher end. So the right, I need an adverb to intensify or to modify the verb use, right? So instead of saying Amazon will like to use, right, it's not more of a, we're saying Amazon obviously wants to do something different, wants to retain its consumers, wants to increase its consumer base. What can it do to attract the consumers? Personalized recommendations, digital coupons. Take it. Be happy with us, right? So the tendency for them to do that for their consumers, to increase their consumer base, is higher, which means I need an adverb. So not like, likely, right? So Amazon will likely, so this is for Amazon to do something like this is on the higher end. That's what it means, right? So I need a adverb intensifying the verb use. Obviously the error is in part A. But even if you can't get, right, if you can't get to the root of it, like some of you came back and said Amazon will like to use, right? So even if you that's the beauty of spot theory, right? You don't have to worry about whether it's will like to use or likely to use. As long as you said part A, you still get your mark. But in order for us to understand the concept behind why likely is more effective or is the most appropriate one, is for you to understand the context as a whole. Yeah, let's look at the second one. During the decade-long UPA rule, Sonia structured her politics over populist programs such as the MGNREGS targeting rural voters. Yeah? So what do you think about this? Where do you think the error is, or do you think there is an error at all in this? What's GV laughing about? No, Chinu. That is incorrect, the sentence that you've put. Yeah, so most of you have come back. Okay, some of you are still asking me questions around the previous question. Like for example, Nilesh says, ma'am, why not Amazon likely to use instead of Amazon will likely use? Because I need a helping verb, no? Nilesh, just to answer Nilesh's question. Amazon is likely to use, that is also possible, right? I can say Amazon is likely to use its Prime membership. So I need the helping verb, which is missing in your context. Is likely to use or will likely use. Will likely use is what I have put down. If you're saying Amazon likely to use, just add is between Amazon and likely and you're good to go. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna go to the next question. Some of you have said no error. Let's just A, B, C and D. Okay. Thanks Faisal, I missed that question, so everybody's answered that. Faisal's answered that. So let's look at this. So during the decade-long UPA rule, Sonia structured her politics. So what is the, tell me what the action word is here. In this context, guys, what is the action word? The verb. Can you identify the verb for me, please? Quickly, who's going to give me the answer fast? I need for you to answer me the question that I asked. What is the verb? The action word. Yes, thank you, Ashok. Right? It's structured. So, Sonia is my subject. Sonia did what? She structured her what? Her politics. And then you have over populist programs. Now that doesn't make sense, right? What is the meaning of structured here? Just take a wild guess, no? What can it mean logically? We're talking about politics. To structure something means what? She's putting together, right? She's to structure her politics means she's putting together. So which means if I'm putting together something and they've given me examples, populist programs such as, and it's targeting rural voters, fine. So when I structure something, I'm always structuring something. What's the word? What's my collocation? Planning. Yes. You plan. So what's the collocation is you always design, okay, fine, right? The collocation for you to remember is you structure something around, you make plans around something, right? This is the logical construction. So she is putting together her politics around these populist programs, using this as a base, right? So if you look it up, right, most of the words that will associate in terms of a collocation is around. You can structure your, see for example, I can say I can structure my time around the way I prepare. I can't say I structure my time over the way I prepare, right? I'm structuring, I'm putting together, I'm planning my time around or about or on the look in terms of how do I segregate for specific subjects. Right? So I structure my time around my preparation, or I structure my time around the number of tests that I take, not over. So that's where it's an incorrect preposition which is in B, and that's where the error is. So Maneri and the other ones who came back and said no error, it seems like it's okay, but it's a very technical error, right? You structure something around something, not over. There could be exceptions, but for the most part it makes sense to say that you plan around something. You put things together around something. Yeah? So error is in part B. Are you guys with me? There are so many words, Girish, in terms of if you're looking for collocations with around, there's lots, right? You can roll around something. You can, something can border around something. Right? There are so many collocations actually. I can wander around. Wander around means like to walk aimlessly, right? Without any purpose. I can even say, I've even, this is a very common one. Come around. Meaning, hey, like you're saying, I can come around and visit you sometime later. Right? weigh around, this something weighs around, like this is the amount of weight that this particular object carries. This suitcase weighs around. You've heard that, right? So these are all the collocations with around. There are so many collocations, in fact. I can't even begin to get started. I can say, I waited around for you for so long, you didn't turn up. If that is your question, was that your question? Roam around, run around, there you go. Oh, in this specific question, structured around. Oh, like that. During the decade-long UPA rule, Sonia structured her politics around populist. Sonia structured her politics around seems appropriate. I don't know in this context if I can put something else. I could, just have to think about it. But let's go with around. It seems like the most appropriate, at least the most common collocation that I can think about in the context. Yeah? Okay, let's move on. From the inception of the project, police has flatly refused to enforcing traffic on the corridor. This is an easy one because as soon as you read it, you know it's to do with a infinitive verb, right? There is no doubt about it. You got this correct after reading it thrice. Okay. You have a very clear keyword, and then you know that after that keyword only the infinitive form will follow, right? Have you identified the keyword? Can somebody quickly identify the keyword? What's the keyword, guys? Since its inception seems, from the inception of the project also is fine. From the beginning, right? You can say it either ways. It's still grammatically correct. Basically, you're saying from the beginning of the project. Since its inception means since the time the project started. It still gives me, both the phrases gives me the same meaning. But it's technically and grammatically correct. To is not the keyword. Refused is the keyword. On the other hand, yes, Chinu. Correct, right? My keyword is refused. When you use refuse, the verb that follows is pretty much an infinitive always. You refuse to do something. Right? It's always a to plus verb. And this verb is a base verb, verb 1. So not ing, obviously it has to be to enforce. So we know this. This is an easy one. Yes, refused, LC, correct. So we know that obviously part C is where the error is. I'm sure most of you got this right. Let's not spend a lot of time on this. Let's move on to the next question, which is, due to the higher inflation a few years ago, investors got used to zero tax incidence on capital gains. So what do you guys think about that? Do you think there's something wrong with this in this sentence? Is everything fine? The best way to quickly dissect the sentence is pay attention to all the error types that you're quickly familiar with, right? Subject verb agreement, articles are fine, prepositions are fine, pronouns are fine, right? These are some of the basics that you can quickly skim through and see if you are able to identify anything at all. Word class, is the forms correct? Are my nouns and adjectives and adverbs in place? Right? That's another way to quickly skim and understand. So the context is, due to the higher inflation few years ago, investors got used to zero tax incidence on capital gains. That's the one, right? So option E. Option E is no error, Faisal. Then you are saying incidence, so I'm a little confused. That will be option D, no? Are you saying there's an error in option D, or are you saying E? I'm not for, okay, sorry, ignore. Ignored. Zero tax incidence, you tell me. You apply context clues and you tell me, what do you think can be the meaning of incidence? Incidence we know as a noun form, obviously, right? Zero tax rate. Here it's just rate. Zero tax rate. Got it? Who asked me this question? Ayushi. Zero tax rate. Why Bhavani? I don't know, Baba. Must be something wrong at your end. Can you just check? See, GV is helping you with the YouTube link. You may want to use that. What tense error, Nagini? Tell me. Where is the error? Why do you want to replace higher to high? See, keep in mind, there is a comparative degree here, right? Which means they're saying they are comparing the inflation now versus a few years ago. So a higher is fine because that brings in that comparison, right, between what it is now and what it was a few years ago. So it's fine. Due to the higher inflation, so the inflation was higher a few years ago, and because of that, investors got used to zero tax rate on capital gains. So no, you don't have to change high to higher. Okay? Yes, there is no error in this question. We don't have to look for an error. If you understand the context, then everything kind of brings into play. So even if you are looking at, okay, why can't I change higher to high? Right? So then you look at it. They are talking about was a few years ago, meaning they're comparing. Now and few years ago, how is it? And how has the higher inflation few years ago affecting the investors now? In what way? They got used to zero tax rate on capital gains. There you go. In this context, Baba, Nagini, instance means rate, zero tax rate. Shilpi, are you not listening to my explanations? I just explained it twice. Okay? Yeah, because they're just being specific, no? They're being specific about this particular higher rate a few years ago. So yes, the as a definite article is only bringing in that specific quality, nature. So yes, Ayushi, to your question. Any other questions in this sentence before we move to the next sentence? Thank you, G. Okay, we're going to move to the next one. Rich farmers use antiquated methods of farming and old equipment, making the cost of rice almost twice as much as it is in other countries. Right? So we have A, B, C, D again. Where do you think the error is? Some of you are, still in the previous questions that we've already completed and discussed. I'm just assuming you logged in late and so you're still giving me answers for questions that we've already discussed 2 questions earlier, but it's okay. as long as you are following. Yeah, Kiran says, hey, it's part A. So rice farmers are, they are the subject, this is the verb, they use something, they use some sort of methods of farming and old equipment, right? What sort of methods are they? So anticate is in what form? So this is basically a word class error, right? I need a word that is describing my methods. Yes or no? Anticate is what word class? Can somebody tell me? If I'm saying that's where my mistake is, when I say word class, I'm asking you what part of speech is it? Is it a verb? Is it a noun? Is it a adjective? Is it a, what is it? Quickly. Is anybody going to give me the answer? No, the given word, anticate as such. If I have to use this in a context, okay, verb. Yeah, in the context, right? Yeah, Praveen, right. It's a verb form. I need an adjective form actually. So how do I change this to an adjective form? Remember, some of my adjectives are also derived from the past tense or the continuous tense, continuous verb tense form. Right? And one word can have more than one word class. Like, for example, antiquated is actually the adjective form. Okay, but antiquated can also act as a verb form, depending on the context. So basically, we're talking about something that is out of date. Rice farmers use out of date methods of farming and old equipment, making the cost of rice almost twice as much as it is in other countries, because they are still using conventional outdated methods. The cost is double as compared to other countries. That's what the context is saying, right? So the right one is, we are saying, because they're using these methods, antiquated methods, which is unsuitable, right? The right word is antiquated. Antique is a different meaning, boss. Who said that? Somebody said antique. Who is that? Wait, let me go back. GV. So remember, you might have come across an antique piece. Right, whenever I refer to something as an antique, I'm talking about a piece of furniture or work of art, right? Over the years, it has gained that much of a value. That's why antiques are very expensive. So when I say, for example, uh, GV loves collecting antiques, which means that antique has a high value. Why? Because over the years it has gained that much of in terms of, people kind of will love to pay. Like for example, people will love to have like a 1947 typewriter in their house as just an antique piece. It's more like a collection. So in this context, I can't use antique methods. Just to give you it has to be an adjective describing the methods antiquated. So the error is in part A, Maneri. Let me go back to the context. Rice farmers use antiquated. So let's look at other examples just so you know how the word, the adjective is used. Yeah. Some collocations, you can have old-fashioned, outdated, unsuited laws. You can have antiquated technology. You can have antiquated machinery, right? These are all collocations with the adjective antiquated. Just so you know, where it's saying, we are talking about the meaning that it's bringing is unsuited, old-fashioned, outdated. Yeah, got it? Let's move on. So in the spot theory question that we've looked at, some of the concepts that we have touched on is word class, right? Do we need an adjective form, verb form, noun form, depending on the context? And are we even getting the right forms, right? Because one word can have more than one word, can be a noun. Antiquated can be an adjective form as well as a verb form, depending on how you put it in the context, right? So things like that. What else did we see? We saw in terms of infinitive, what verb forms do we need? Then we looked at a lot of collocations we looked at, right? Structured around refuse to do, right? These are all constructions that people use repeatedly in various situations. Yeah, I think for the most part it was just word class and collocations. So let's move to our next question type, which is what? Which is closed passage. Okay, let's take a look at this. As usual, I think there are only 8 blanks in this passage. So let's quickly skim through the passage. Let's understand what the passage is about. And remember to look for clues within the context, okay? I want you to pay attention. There's always, like I keep saying this, a clue for me for blank 1 can be around the blank 5 sentence. You follow what I'm saying? Everything is connected, interconnected when it comes to closed passage. I'm going to project the passage and I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to a minute to read this, and then we'll quickly look at each blank and figure out the answer. Ready? Your time starts now. I'm going to read with you. So let's do this. Let me know when you guys are done, okay? Okay, so most of you have done. Sake has different meanings, but here it's very specific to this, Japanese culture, right? It's basically rice wine. Okay, I'm sure somebody answered that. It's an alcoholic drink. Okay, blah blah blah. So Nilesh says it's very easy close test. Let's see if everybody feels the same. Nilesh, yeah. So done. Okay, okay. So let's go. As part of the ongoing Japan festival in Delhi, the Japanese embassy here dash a sake tasting event. And then my options are organized, planned, considered, thought, and through. So Nilesh and GV says organized. Any other options? So, I have a question to you guys, okay? Why can't it be planned? Just a question. Like, I'm sure some of us might be confused between organized and planned, right? So I'm gonna throw the question again. So I want one of you to answer me, why can't it be option B, planned? Why are you saying it's only option A? Any clue, anything that is helping you with the answer option A is right and not option B? See, what I can quickly eliminate from my options is, I know the again, almost like a phrase, right? You can throw a party, right? To throw a party means what? Like to put together, right? Then I have thought, which is illogical. Then I have considered, again, not an effective word here. So what's a clue word? Event is organized, not planned. Are you sure about that? You can also plan an event. What do you mean event is organized? What's the difference between plan and organize? Let me put that question. Planned is used for an event in future. Nagini is I want to discuss this because I know a lot of you will be confused between these two words. So let's address this. What is the difference between planned and organized? This is my understanding, okay? Let me give you my 2 cents. So if I'm saying, I like what Nilesh has put, very close to what I'm trying to say. I will give you an example. So let's say I'm planning a birthday party for my son, okay? So when I plan, right, what will I plan? Maybe I'll plan, okay, where do I want to have it, right? At home, or do I want to select a venue, like a hotel, right? So I can plan for the birthday event in terms of, whether it's where's the venue, how many people should I invite, what sort of refreshments should I give, should I organize some, takeaway gifts for all the children who are coming, right? How many games should I conduct, right? That's planning, right? But what is organizing? Organizing is a step further, right? Where I'm saying, okay, so if I'm saying these many people I will invite, organizing is I actually get down to business, right? I get down to business. So I start sending out invites. I want them to RSVP me, right? I gather materials and props that I need for the games, right? I start preparing the arrangements or refreshments for the party. So which means that's the difference, right? I plan for the future, like I have, okay, these are the items that I will take care of. And organizing is I'm actually getting in and doing it, right? I'm getting in business, I'm doing it. Whatever needs to be done for this A, B, C, D, I have 5 points, whatever needs to be done for that. So, in the context, like some of you have come back and said, a very important clue phrase is, as part of the ongoing Japan festival in Delhi, which means the planning stage is already done, right? Yeah, this festival, the planning stage is already done. So here at this point of time in that festival, they are going ahead and telling us that, okay, they have trying to execute the procedure for the sake tasting event. So organize would be the right fit here. That is why option A is our answer and not option B. Okay. So just in case some of you were stuck in not trying to, understand why can't it be B, you can also plan an event, but that's where the difference is. Are you guys clear? Sorry, Faisal had a question. What is this? I see RSVP in all invitation cards. Well, my understanding is they just want you to reply as soon as possible so they can plan, I guess. I don't know the expansion of it. I can make up my own expansion. Reply soon. Very personal. That doesn't make sense. But no, the general thing is, I'm sure it's there in Google. Google doesn't give you the answer, is it? I've never Googled that. Yeah, I would have to agree with what you've said, Ahuja. Right? You plan something, right? So I can say, hey, I plan to, study abroad or whatever, and then you get around to doing things. You start organizing stuff around that plan that you've made, right? So it seems very logical that organizing would follow plan. So let's move to the second blank. Let's read. So organize the sake tasting. Even sake is a rich rice-based Japanese alcoholic beverage with a 2,000-year-old dash. Options: plan, history, idea, habit, desire. So the understanding or the clue word for us here is we are talking about a beverage here. And my clue phrase is with a 2,000-year-old. What can it be? Plan, idea, habit, desire, or history? What is it? There you go. Responde s'il vous plaît. Thank you, Chandamit Shelvi. Information for us. Information is wealth. Information is knowledge. Responde s'il vous plaît. If you please. It's French term. Yeah, it's a French term. Reply, if you please. Yeah, good. Yeah, so everybody comes back and says for the second blank it is B. How can it be an idea, Baba? We're talking about fact, right? The fact that this has been there for 2,000-year-old. It's not just an idea. We're talking about something tangible, right? Your clue word is beverage. How can it be option C? An idea is abstract. Unless you put it or implement it into something, it doesn't become a methodology or something that you've carried out, right? But here we're talking about a tangible liquid, a beverage that we can taste. So it definitely is not an idea. Okay? Yeah? So there we go. It's not a habit, it's not a plan, it's not a desire. We're talking about a tangible thing that's been there for the last 2,000-year-old. So sake is a rice-based Japanese alcoholic beverage with a 2,000-year-old history. Okay, beverage being your clue word there. Let's move on. It is the dash of Japanese culture and refinement and is increasingly gaining popularity in foreign markets. What are my options for blank 3? Fulfillment, domain, embodiment, tradition, backdrop. So what are we still referring to? It, right? Seik. What about it? Seik is the dash of Japanese culture and refinement. Think and tell me what can be the answer for this. So Srivastava says, and some couple of you say B. Some of you are saying tradition. So it's between B and D, right? Okay, so now let's understand. Some of you are saying C. Okay, I'm guessing those who took the test is saying C. But let's figure out everything, right? I will address your question, Ashok, while I explain. Yes, let's understand why is it wrong, Girish. So we're still talking about this rice wine, this beverage Seik, right? Let's keep that in mind. That is our clue word, keyword. And then it says, it is the dash of Japanese culture and refinement and is increasingly gaining popularity in foreign markets. Okay. So let's understand the difference between, and remember it says of Japanese culture, right? So then, since most of you came back and said, let's rule out the incorrect ones first, okay? It's definitely not backdrop, just illogical, unrelated word. We don't know, we can't say fulfillment because it's saying it's increasingly gaining popularity, and again fulfillment just doesn't fit right in the context, right? It seems very off. Domain, what would you refer to as a domain? Tell me, in the context, are we talking about a domain or are we talking about a beverage? Right? See, a domain is basically some sort of an area or territory, right? That's not what we're addressing here at all. Yeah? We are talking about a beverage. So, domain is incorrect as a context. Somebody said domain, let's rule that out. Right? So, A, B and E are out. I have to choose between C and D. Now, my only thing, Faisal, definitely not E, okay. Now let's understand this, okay. Now because most of you came back and said tradition, I'm going to focus on D first, okay. Now of Japanese, so Seik is the dash of Japanese culture and refinement, right. What is tradition? If you have to define tradition, what would you say? How would you define tradition? Tradition is where I am handing down some beliefs, some customs, some legends, some information from generation to generation, right? People follow that. That is tradition. What about culture? Culture is there right after the set of culture. Somebody, okay, Faisal saying set of culture. So how would you define culture? Let's go back to the context. Culture is again, it is a beliefs and behavior of certain groups, right? Ethnic groups, social groups. They believe in something and they behave accordingly. That's a culture, right? Which means they are synonym in meaning. For example, let's talk about traditions in India, right? Arranged marriage is sort of a tradition that people still follow, right? It's something that is passed on from generation to generation, and it is our culture. In India, that's the culture, right? They believe in that system, they believe in that, in the idea of or in the concept of arranged marriage, and we do that. So it's followed generation after generation, right? Or some of the customs. So when I'm saying tradition and culture are kind of synonym in nature. How do I know that? In our context, let's focus on our context, okay? Can you quickly identify around fifth blank? If you see, it says here, it is a unique experience that dash a slice of Japanese culture and tradition, which means culture and tradition are kind of overlapping here to an extent. Why? It is referring to certain beliefs, certain behaviors, certain things that we follow and which is handed down from generation to generation. Yes, exactly, Girish. Tradition is superfluous in this blank. In blank 2, right? It overlaps, it brings in the same sort of meaning, so it doesn't make sense for you to address tradition. But embodiment, on the other hand, what is the meaning of embodiment is something that marks, something that is characteristic, something that represents, right? So I can say, hey, Nagini is an embodiment of generosity, just to give you an example, right? Which means she is such a generous person, and when you think of generosity, the only person that comes to mind is Nagini, because she represents that. It's a mark. I can use her as an example, right? So something represents something. So in the context, we are saying the beverage sake is a representation of the Japanese culture. Yes, Chandamichelvi, right? So if I have to, this is one of the things that I can look at, which kind of brings out the Japanese culture. And look at the context. It says it is the embodiment of Japanese culture and refinement and is increasingly gaining popularity in foreign markets. So since this is kind of a special feature when it comes to Japanese culture, it is gaining popularity now in the foreign markets, right? So embodiment. So because tradition is superfluous in meaning, the most effective word is, yes, it symbolizes, yes, right, represents. And that's why option C, embodiment, is our answer. Got it, guys? And if you look at embodiment, if I have to define embodiment, I'd say it is a tangible or something. Tangible means visible, right? A tangible or visible form of, it can be an idea, it can be a quality, it can be a feeling, it can be a thing, right? And here we are talking about the beverage sake. Yeah? So that's why option C is our answer. Let's move on. Choose a fourth one. So indeed, the aim of the sake tasting event was to dash the Japanese beverage to potential Indian customers. What are my options? Compete, allocate, publish, introduce, put. What can be the right answer? Are you guys with me? Tell me what's the answer for the fourth one. Not a very difficult blank actually. So keeping in mind the sake is increasingly gaining popularity in foreign markets, obviously what do they want to do? The objective is that this will to potential Indian customers, meaning they want to showcase it, right? Yes. Introduce, absolutely. Yeah, that makes logical sense, no? Okay, so everybody unanimously agrees that option D is the answer. Do you have any doubts with the other options? So Kishore says compete, A. Why? So basically, Kishore, what the context is saying is, hey, this is something that is very dear, that is very special to our culture, right? And we want to kind of let other people know about this, so you can also kind of enjoy it, or know about it, be aware of it as something that you can also use. It's like we use a lot of Japanese products anyways, right? China and Japan. So they're not trying to compete here. This is something that represents our culture and we want you to be aware of it, right? We want you to know about it. We want you to, even to the extent of, use it and enjoy it just like how we enjoy it, right? So introduce, not compete, not allocate, not publish or put. Yeah, Anubrat, correct. So let's move on. So far so good. 4 blanks over, 4 more to go. Let's go. It is important to remember that sake is much more than an alcoholic beverage. Why is that? It is a unique experience that dash a slice of Japanese culture and tradition. Options: demands, impacts, enters, finalizes, offers. What's the answer? It's a collocation again, right? Keep in mind the words after the blank, a slice, and in given the context, what can be the logical option? Yes, the collocation is you offer a slice, right? Offer a slice literally. Like if, let's say, you're having breakfast and you're having a bread and butter slice, you offer somebody. But here in the context, it means it gives you the opportunity to experience the Japanese culture, right? So it is a unique experience that offers a slice of Japanese culture. See, keep in mind the context. Who is this who said impacts? Kone. Okay, never mind. Whoever it is, you know who you are. Creating an impact is a secondary stage, right? Because here the context is still revolving around it's gaining popularity. They're trying to introduce to the Indian consumers. So which means it is still in stage 1, right? Where they are saying, hey, we want you to taste it. We are offering it so you can experience this experience that we are having. Okay? Feeling hungry. Me too. Actually, very much. 3 more blanks. We'll be done. I mean, you can eat still. I wouldn't even know, GV. You can just snack on. I think you guys should come prepared like that. Right? Have a lot of snacks. Watch, eat, drink. I won't even know. You can chill, Madi, but I can't do that. But I still do that. Ha ha ha. Okay, let's go. It is a unique experience that offers. Yeah, everybody agrees with this. Blah blah blah. The embassy hopes for sake gaining in. 6th, what are my options? Gaining in dash in India in tandem with a maturing drinking culture and growing awareness of Japanese culture and popular imagination. Means what? What are my options? Praise, sincerity, popularity, curiosity, support. See there, Faisal, now you're making me really hungry, boss. Anyway, the embassy hopes for sake gaining in. Come on, there's a clue phrase for you in this context. Tell me. Hey, you can still eat and be dedicated, boss. I think you'll be even more dedicated if your brain is functioning, and the brain needs fuel, and fuel comes from food. So yes, please fill yourselves. Yeah, what is the there's a clue phrase from the context. Can somebody quickly identify the clue phrase? I know most of you came back and said option C, option C, option C. And the collocation also you mentioned, right? Gaining popularity, yes. What's a clue phrase? Come on, let me see who's going to give me the clue phrase fast. From that very same context. Praveen, Q Baba, E, support. Keep in mind, I show the PPT. Keep in mind, you can gain support, not gaining in support. I can gain support, gaining in something. What is that? Hopes. Sugita says hopes. No. Come on. Nobody's giving me the clue phrase. Nay, no, wrong. Yes, thank you, Maddie. Super. Growing awareness, that's your clue phrase. The embassy hopes for sake gaining in popularity in India in tandem with a maturing drink culture and growing awareness of Japanese culture and popular imagination. So, popular imagination is there, but still, what is in tandem with means what? In tandem with means what, guys? You've heard this, right? Something that's happening alongside, together. That I'm asking that question and you guys are asking me that question back. Tandem meaning, what is tandem? Tandem means at the same time, happening together, right? So, just like how the embassy is hoping for sake to gain in popularity in India, in line with a maturing drinking culture and growing awareness of Japanese culture and popular imagination. Yeah? So, some of you came back and said, confused between support. See, they're not, again, the context is giving you clue phrases, right? It's saying, hey boss, we want you to be aware of it. We are introducing this. We're offering you the same experience that we're offering you. So, the more, first you have to, it has to reach widely, right? The reach has to be there. So, only awareness comes first. People need to be aware that there is a product like this in the first place, right? Indian consumers have to be aware of it. Oh, okay, there is something called a rice wine, which is a Japanese beverage, alcoholic beverage. So, first comes awareness, right? And then comes support, right? And they're not really looking for support here. They just want you to experience one of their, something that represents their culture. Okay? So, popularity would be the most effective word. Moving on. In that sense, say can't be seen in dash. In that sense, meaning I need to pay attention to my previous context. The embassy hopes for sake gaining in popularity in India in tandem with a maturing drinking culture and growing awareness of Japanese culture and popular imagination. Keep that context in mind when they say in that sense. Say can't be seen in, what are my options? Quandary, proxy, hue, force, isolation. What's the meaning? Some of you may not be familiar with some of the meanings of these words, right? So quickly let's dig out the meanings of these words. Quandary means what? Something that you're, let's say, like a dilemma. Okay? Not sure. Like a predicament. Proxy. Who's a proxy? The noun form. Proxy means somebody is representing someone else, right? Let's just say representative. What's hue? What is the meaning of hue? So we're just quickly getting all these, maybe you don't know the meaning of these words that can even affect your ability to choose the right answer option. So what's a hue? Noun forms, it has different meanings. I mean, when it relates to color, it's a shade, right? Or it can also mean something like, what can I say? Like an aspect, some sort or kind or type. So I can say you could have children inclined more towards, like children of political hues, like for example, which means they're very interested or inclined towards politics. Not children, let's say youth. That makes more sense. But anyway, yeah. And then we have, what's for? F-O-R-E? Let's go back to the context. Option D. Yeah, former, front, yes, yes. As an adjective, that's what it means. Yeah. Like remember forefront. And isolation, we all know. So in the context, what is our answer? What can be the most logical answer? So now that we've looked at all the meanings of the words, what do you think is the answer? Maneri says isolation. What about the rest? No. Yes, exactly, Girish. Right? I just kept telling you, pay attention to the previous context. If we are saying something has to, it's very logical, no guys. If I'm saying, hey, something has to gain popularity, something has to be widespread, we are offering it as an experience that you should taste, right? Which means what? It cannot be in isolation, huh? It cannot be separate, like somewhere in some part, nobody knows about this beverage, nobody comes to know. It has to be isolation logically. Option E. In that sense, say can't be seen in isolation because it has to gain popularity. Right? Just pure logic. If something has to gain popularity, it cannot function separately. It cannot function independent of other factors. So in the context, isolation means separate, limited. Nobody knows about it. Like if I come to work, right, and I'm very isolated from the others, people may not even know that I have actually come to work. Why means GV? I don't understand. What's your question? Yeah? I hope I answered your question. I think I'm getting your chat responses a little late. Hue, I just said it's a color, different meanings. It can be a shade, it can be a color, it can be a sort or a kind. It's an unrelated word in this context actually, if you ask me. Huh? It is a package, we're looking at the last blank here. It is a package encapsulating the best of Japan, a deepening of India-Japan people-to-people and cultural dash through SAKE is the ultimate objective. So what are my options for blank 8? Connect, implication, automation, intervention, abstention. This again is an easy one. What can it be? So I want you to pay attention to the adjectives before this, right? Cultural is the adjective, describing obviously all my options also are nouns only. I need the right noun. But what do I need to pay attention to? India, Japan, people to people. Now tell me. Yes, very good. Unanimously. Yes, it has to be logically option A, connect. Right? Because a deepening of India, Japan, people to people and cultural connect through SAKE is the ultimate objective. Not implication, not automation, intervention or abstention. Automation, no. Usha Garu, No, unrelated word here, okay? Oopsie. Okay. So, option A is our answer. Clear? I mean, the context itself is very helpful in us giving us abstention. Ashok is asking, what's the meaning of abstention? Let's go back to which is the option E, right? What is the meaning of abstention? Anybody? Have you heard of this word, or is it a new word? Have you heard of abstaining? I mean, abstaining. It's kind of closely related to that, where you're, let's say, stopping yourself from involving or doing something, right? That I would say is abstention. I'm sure you would have heard of the word abstinence. I mean, that's another noun form. You're refraining from something. You know, it could be maybe non-vegetarian or drinking or smoking, right? You're restraining yourself from doing something. That's the meaning of abstention. Keep in custody. Oops. Sorry about that. Yeah. Restraining, yes. Abstain is to refrain. Yes, that is correct. So, yeah. So, I think that was it. I don't see any other questions. But Nilesh says, please take up questions from those were confusing. It's not put up here, so I don't know what they are. But we can definitely. Okay, wait. Hold on. Yeah, we've come to the end of the session, but let me just quickly address some questions. Nilesh, I'll address it probably in the next session, dude. Wait, there's too many chat comments coming one after the other, and I'm missing it out. Madam, smother and suffocate are synonyms, but in AM the answer is muffle. Madam, can you tell why? Why I'm wrong? I need the context. Can you give me the context? Because I don't have the questions here. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I'll have to look at those. Okay, let's do one thing. Put it up in the discussion forum. Put that question in the discussion forum. I'll answer it there. Either Giresh or Sugeta, whoever had a confusion, put it up there, and I will answer it there. Hey, by the way, please go through the questions in the discussion forum. I'm also hoping that most of you have gone through the tips and tricks segment. It's a new segment that's been added in the English section. Please go through it. I think it's the first section if I'm not wrong. Those are just the vocab questions. Okay, fine. No, but specifically you were saying some smother thing. No, I thought I'll address that in the discussion forum. So just do that. And yeah, so a couple of things in terms of a reminder. One, especially for those who are new, okay, please go through, what do I say, the tips and tricks segment. That will kind of give you a lot of inputs in terms of how to approach specific question types, right? I've shared a lot of strategies there. And I have to go actually. I'm very hungry. And I mean, there are no questions. And if you guys can give me the context, it'll be fine. So that's why I'm asking you, if you can put it up in the discussion forum, we can discuss it there. Whatever your, like Giresh seems to have a lot of doubts. So just put it up in the forum. So Kishore, from which section I have to start in English? I think Janani, who is new, had asked the same question. So if you go to the discussion forum, I've answered her question in detail. So please go through that. That will answer your question too, Kishore. Alright? Because it depends on what your strengths are and what your weak areas are. Some of you, your basics might not be very strong, so which means I've given a stepwise plan for you to go through the English section, so please do that. Just go through that answer and you will have your answer. Somebody is desperately trying to call me. Okay, let me just address this person. Yeah, I think that's about it. So thank you guys, and I think next time even I'm going to get snacks and come. I do, sometimes I sneak in snacks in between, but so that I don't get hungry soon. So I'll see you guys next session. But before that, I don't want to wait till the next session. So please, those of you who had questions around the vocab, please put it up in the discussion forum. I will personally answer your questions immediately. Yes, Giresh and Sugeta. Okay. Thank you guys. Take care. Bye bye. And welcome to all the new ones who've joined us. So excited you decided to do the right thing. Right choice. Alright, chalo. Bye.